Hello, this is Billy Core from the Nostalgia Mall, and as of right now, the day I'm recording this video, Sunday, September the 16th of 2018, I'm still feeling the effects of Hurricane Florence. Now, I'm glad to report that we've pretty much dodged a bullet as far as the Greensboro area is concerned. Mostly what we've gotten is just some rain showers here and there. In fact, we're currently in the middle of one right now. They're still saying the worst hasn't gotten here yet, funny enough, but they've been saying that the last couple of days and it still hadn't gotten here, so hopefully we don't wind up in the middle of a power outage in the middle of this video. That would be kind of awkward, but anyway, on with the subject matter. What we're looking at on the right is the subject of this video, the Dell Dimension 8200, a computer we briefly saw when I did the video showing off all the computers that my aunt gave me. I guess it was about a month ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long now. But this computer is a computer that my aunt bought brand new in December of 2001. This was actually one of the first computers I ever really remember seeing Windows XP on. And she used this as her main computer for a very long time. She used this from 2001 all the way up till 2008, early 2008, when she replaced it with the Dell XPS 720 that she also gave me last month. So in this video we're going to take a look at the hardware and software that makes up this computer and see what I'm using this computer for now. Okay, before we proceed with opening the case up, I want to give a little bit of a history of this computer. Again, my aunt purchased this new in December of 2001. This was the computer that replaced her Gateway 2000 P5100XL. That was her main computer, her first computer. She used it from May of 1995 until December of 2001, so she got about 6 years worth of usage out of that. And she got a lot of usage out of this computer as well, although I obviously don't remember it as fondly as the Gateway 2000. Again, this was her daily driver, and it served her very, very well because, as you know, in the 2000s, especially the early 2000s, Dell built computers to last. I still believe the early 2000s or somewhere around there was Dell's golden period, where they were just putting out just computer after computer that still lasts to this day. I mean, yes, there were a few here and there that suffered the capacitor plague of the early 2000s, but as you know, I am also the owner of a Dell computer that I bought new in the early 2000s and lasted me very reliably, the Dell Dimension 2350 that I bought back in 2003. We actually celebrated its 15th anniversary this past summer, so if you want to see the video all about that, please, by all means, go check that out. But anyway, she replaced it again with the Dell XPS 720, which I also now own, in January of 2008. And this computer became her secondary computer. The only real problem this computer ever had that I recall was back in the latter part of 2010. It suffered a power supply failure because, unfortunately, back then in the early 2000s, the power supplies that Dell used really weren't the best. But thankfully the computer survived that. I took it in for service right here in this on this workbench, actually, back in 2010, and replaced the power supply. And I also had to reformat and reinstall Windows XP because, for whatever reason, I don't recall, the operating system was no longer bootable. I don't remember what happened, but I was able to reformat it, and it was working up until about a month ago when I had to remove the hard drive to give back to my aunt. So yes, this computer no longer has its original hard drive for privacy and data reasons, but I did replace the hard drive with one of my own. So the specs of this computer: it has a 2 gigahertz Intel Pentium 4. I believe it's a Willamette, first generation Pentium 4. 512 megabytes of RAM. Unfortunately, this is one part of the computer I really don't like. It uses RAM bus memory, which is really hard to come by, but thankfully 512 megabytes is sufficient for what I use this computer for now. Originally had a 80 gigabyte hard drive, but again I had to give that back to my aunt for privacy reasons. But the hard drive I put in it is another 80 gigabyte hard drive. This one's a Western Digital drive. I forget the make and model of the original 80 gig hard drive in here, but I don't believe it was a Seagate or a Western Digital. It was probably a Mac Store, I want to say. It has a really nice Intel, not Intel, has a really nice NVIDIA GeForce 3 video card, 64 megs, top of the line for 2001. And a really nice Turtle Beach Santa Cruz sound card, or it might be a Santa Cruz Turtle Beach sound card. So I remember in 2010 when I had to reload the OS for her, I had a heck of a time finding the drivers for that sound card. Even on Dell's website I just couldn't find the drivers, but eventually I did, and I was able to get it up and running. But thankfully I now have all the original software and manuals that came with this computer, which we will look at later, and that includes the original installation CD for the sound card, so I don't have to worry about hunting down the drivers for it. So we can take a look at the back. Up here is the power supply that I replaced back in 2010. Got the I/O, we got a serial, parallel, PS2 mouse and keyboard, 2 USB ports, I believe it's only 1.1. We have our NVIDIA card there, our really nice Turtle Beach sound card. Originally this was a 56K dial-up modem, but I replaced this with a USB 2.0 card, which I still need to get drivers for because the operating system that I'm using on here doesn't have them natively, and I need to pull it out and look up the model on it, which I might do when we open it up in a minute. And a 10100 Ethernet card, which was original to the system. Now, another thing I really don't care about on this system, now, while I've always loved the look of these Dell clamshell style towers, they can be a pain to open and close. And as you can see right here, the plastic has kind of come off of the metal. I actually did this back in 2010 when I had to open this up to replace the power supply. I had a heck of a time opening it and a heck of a time closing it, so I got a little rough with it, but all in all, as long as the system still works, that's all that matters. So I will go ahead and open it up. We can take a look inside. Okay, I forgot to mention the optical drives in this system. It's got dual optical drives. It's got a DVD-ROM reader up here and a CDRW drive on the bottom, and a 3.5-inch floppy drive right there. But anyway, here's the motherboard. I believe this is just a special Intel board that Intel made for Dell. And our CPU is under this green cover right here. Again, 2 gigahertz Pentium 4. There's our video card there. And our USB card that I need to take a closer look at. Thankfully, this is a pretty toolless design for the most part. Just have to pull that down here. And really do this with one hand. There we go. Okay, looks like I got some kind of Adaptec card. Looks like maybe an AUA 5100B with an NEC chip. So I will take a picture of that with my cell phone, and I'll look up the drivers for that, and hopefully we can get that working. Here's our replace power supply that I put in 8 years ago. It's a 350 watt power supply. Probably not the best, but it does work. And because it's a power supply from this decade, it has SATA power connectors and a PCIe connector, which is completely unnecessary in this computer. And of course, with this being one of the Dell clamshell cases, it uses these special drive rails for the hard drives, optical drive, floppy drives, whatever. I think that's the original CMOS battery. I can't remember if I had to replace it or not when I got this computer last month, but it's still holding a charge, surprisingly. And what I find kind of interesting about this motherboard is that the bottom two slots here, the bottom two PCI slots, are on this card right here that connects into the bottom of the motherboard. That's interesting. I don't know if I've seen that before. So yeah, obviously kind of proprietary. And the case was manufactured November 8th of 2001. I was almost 12 years old. So yeah, that's all there really is to see on the inside. So let's go ahead and power the computer up. I almost forgot to show this. This is all the original paperwork and CDs for this computer. Although I think a few other computers have their stuff slipped into this bag, so it might not just be for this one computer. First, we have this CD. This is for Roxio Easy CD Creator 5.1 Basic. I remember using this quite a bit back in the day on my Dimension 2350. This, I don't even know what that is. Power DVD DX 8.2. That's copyright 2009. Obviously not for that computer. Here's the spec sheet that my aunt must have printed out before she bought this. Gives you an idea of what the Dell website looked like back in 2001. A list of all the parts. Presumably this was probably printed on the Gateway 2000. Oh yeah, I remember these. And this has actually never been opened. This is the original COA and manual for Windows XP Home Edition, which this computer came with. And there's the CD right there. I'm not sure if it's ever been used, because when I reinstalled the OS back in 2010, I used a different CD that I had lying around here. But very cool to have this. Sadly, I don't have any of the original paperwork that came with my 2350. That's kind of a shame. Doubt this is for this computer, because this looks more late 2000s-esque. Yeah, April 2007. Must be for that XPS of hers. September 2008. Again, for another computer, obviously. Here's the CD for the sound card. Very glad to have this, because it's hard to find the drivers for. Turtle Beach, Santa Cruz. These are really, really, really nice sound cards. The Dell Dimension Resource CD, I remember using these quite a bit back in the day. Obviously not for this computer. A reinstallation DVD for Windows Vista Business 32-bit, which is odd because I don't recall my aunt ever having any computer with Windows Vista. The CD for the monitor that came with this computer was a 17-inch flat screen monitor, which I do have. It's sitting in a bag in my bedroom. I just don't have room to use it right now, but hopefully I will someday. Power DVD 7 from 2006. Again, not for this computer. Dell installed programs. I believe this is for like photo editing software and Norton antivirus. Okay, that's not for this computer. The software for the modem. I still have the modem somewhere, but this was a 56K dial-up modem. This computer came with Office XP Small Business, which is an odd beast because it has everything except PowerPoint, and it's odd to have an Office suite without PowerPoint. But that was pretty much all there is to see. The manual that came with this computer, I'm not sure where it is. Got this one bag here, but I think this is for the XPS. Alright, it's finally time to power it up. That rain's really starting to pick up out there. And I have it on my KVM right here, so it doesn't automatically go to where it needs to be. But as you can see, I have it dual booted. It is not running Windows XP, funny enough. It is running a dual boot of Windows 2000 and Windows Millennium Edition. Why is that? Well, I would like to have this running its original OS, but I just don't have... I just have too many computers right now running Windows XP, and I don't really need another one right now. So, I figured, you know, I really don't have anything running Windows 2000, so why not make this into a Windows 2000 box? So, yeah, that's what it's running, and it does have ME on here, but to be honest, I really don't use it a whole lot. I'm mostly using 2000, but let's reboot and see if we can take a look at the BIOS. I don't believe the BIOS has ever been updated. Oh, we got a keyboard failure. That's lovely. Oh, time for a hard reset. We're off to a good start, aren't we? And I have to run all the way over to my KVM in time. Okay, there we go. Oh, come on. Oh, well. Okay, here's our BIOS. Pretty much says what we already know. Got 512 megs of RAM bus memory. Again, not too big a fan of that. CPU clocked at an even 2 gigahertz. System event log. Let's see if there's anything in there. Okay, a lot of stuff from a lot of stuff from 2010. It looks like that must be when I had this computer in for repair. Apparently, I was misbehaving with the CPU fan. Wow. And a few from this year. Mostly keyboard errors like we just had. Okay, let's go ahead and boot into the OS, and to do that we're going to shut the camera off and use my capture card so we can get a better look. Okay, we're going to boot on into Windows 2000, where we'll be spending most of the video inside of. And this is powered by Extended Kernel. This is an add-on I discovered for Windows 2000. It's some kind of update roll-up that basically gives you the ability to run newer XP-style software on there. Kind of like how Kernel X runs for Windows 98. Okay, for some reason it always forgets the password for the shared hard drive I have on my main computer. So I'll type that in. Okay, I've just discovered that my mouse and keyboard are not working. This is great. I swear this stuff only happens when I'm doing a video. It works great when I'm not doing a video, but once the camera starts rolling, everything falls apart. So let me do some off-camera work and hopefully we can get this up and running again. Okay, we're finally at the desktop, and again we're running Windows 2000 Professional. Now my experience with Windows 2000, I understand that a lot of people absolutely love and adore the crap out of this operating system, and I can see why. It's a very rock-solid and reliable operating system with a very old-school GUI. Still has that Windows 98 style charm to it in a way, but it has the reliability of a lot of later Windows operating systems. And a lot of people decided to actually forego Windows XP back in the day and install Windows 2000 for many, many years, well into Windows XP's lifespan. Now, my personal experience with Windows 2000, I never really had much usage out of it back when it was new. I always just went straight to Windows XP. And when it wasn't XP, it was the 9X line of operating systems from Windows that I used. In the mid 2000s, when I first started getting into older Windows OSs, I really wanted to try Windows 2000, but it was still new enough to be too expensive to buy on eBay, but it wasn't old enough to be considered abandonware. So I really didn't have many options for obtaining Windows 2000, so I was pretty much left out in the cold. But I did finally get a copy of Windows 2000 in the latter part of 2008, but by then there really wasn't much left to do with Windows 2000. And nowadays, Windows 2000, there's really no point in using it, in my opinion, at least for my personal use, because when it comes to gaming, the older stuff runs better on Windows 98 and 95 for that matter, and there's just really no use in having Windows 2000. But the reason I'm running it here is because I really like this computer and I want to get some use out of it, but I really don't have the need for any more XP machines around the house, and I finally just want to see what Windows 2000 is really like. And I really do like it, so let's take a look and see what I have installed on here. I do indeed have some games installed. Got Tonka Construction 2, the Croc series of games, Jazz Jackrabbit 2, which surprisingly runs really well on here, Lego Island, Roller Coaster Tycoon, bunch of Microsoft released games, Work Suite 2002, which would have come with this computer originally, but I don't think my aunt got this with her Dimension 8200. QuickTime 5, GTA Vice City with the Back to the Future mod, Roxio Easy CD Creator 5, the Santa Cruz software for the sound card, a couple of Sierra games, Test Drive 6, and Office XP with PowerPoint. I installed a better version of it, and Virtual PC 2004 because why not? And an XP-based version of Mozilla Thunderbird, which I was able to install thanks to the update roll-up. And I don't really have it set up, but it's running just fine. But normally this would not run on Windows 2000. And this version, I don't know when it's from. But again, this only works as early as XP. And the Chameleon browser, version 74, also does not run natively on Windows 2000, but it does run on Windows XP, and it does run perfectly fine, as you can see, with the update roll-up pack. And this version is from 2014. So we just go to Google real quick. And there you go. Loads just fine. Although that's not really centered properly for some reason. And a version of VLC Media Player designed only for XP and above. Anyway, let's go into Device Manager and see what we got going. Okay, we got a 64 megabyte NVIDIA GeForce 3 Ti 500. I understand this is a really good video card to have on a system like this. A 3-COM Etherlink XL 10100 PCI network card. The Santa Cruz sound card, of course, and all the chipset goodies. And yes, I did install the USB driver. I did that off camera, and it seems to be working just fine, although I don't really have anything plugged into it right now. Do a quick DXDiag. Okay. We were running DirectX 9, which is the latest version of DirectX that will run on Windows 2000. And there's all our GPU information and sound card goodies. Okay, now this portion of the video is, I think, the third time I've tried to record this, because I've got about 15 minutes worth of footage that I recorded thinking it worked and there was no audio. And that really annoyed me, because now I gotta redo everything! That's one of my biggest pet peeves of making videos, when something goes wrong and you don't know about it until it's too late. So, I gotta retrace what I did, and what we're going to do is we're going to play some games, show you what this computer can do as far as gaming is concerned. I really don't have a whole lot of games installed on here that could really show off what this computer can really do, but I can show you a few games just to show you that Windows 2000 is capable of running a few games. In fact, it can play a lot of games, believe it or not. Let's start off with Monster Truck Madness 2. Again, this really doesn't do this computer much justice. Of course, always got to be the Carolina Crusher. No, not really. Okay, here we go. I swear, if there's no audio in this video, I'm going to cry like a 2-year-old little girl who lost her Barbie doll. Or not, that's kind of creepy. Okay. As you can see, the graphics in this game are greatly improved from the original version of Monster Truck Madness, but the first one will always be the best for me. Because more nostalgia. Whoa! I sound like a Valley girl just then. Like, whoa! I request that you remove that from your memory of me saying that. It'll do the world a lot of good. Alright, well, I was the only one racing, but, yeah. Okay, one more game. This one, is another game that, surprisingly runs well on, Windows 2000 because I don't think it really runs on Windows XP very well. And this is Motocross Madness 2. If it'll load. There we go. Now, one game that I remember my aunt playing on this computer, and this was in the summer of 2002, was Real Myst, because she was a big fan of the Myst series. She played the original and the Gateway 2000 and all, but this game was really powerful, had incredible graphics for the time, and I do own a copy of that game, and I would show it to you, but I don't know where it is right now. So, sorry. Alright, let's do a enduro race. This is where we follow an arrow and run a bunch of laps. Well, let's find a good track. It is really pouring down rain outside because of the hurricane. Thankfully, as I said earlier, Greensboro really dodged a bullet. But we are currently under a flash flood warning, but thankfully we are not in a flooding area, which is very good. I've been living at this house for 28 years, almost 29, and I do not recall there ever being a flood here at this house. But hopefully those who are in a flooding area around here will be okay. I tell you, it was really devastating seeing what happened down toward Wilmington, who got the worst of the storm, because the Wilmington area is my favorite vacation area. I have a lot of fond memories of going to the beach down there as a kid, and it's a very special place to me. So it really hurts to see them in such disrepair. And as you can see, I'm doing a terrible job at this game. But as you can see, it looks really good on this computer. I got the graphics cranked all the way as high as they'll go. And I crashed a wall. Alright, let's just drive around the place and see what kind of trouble we can get into. Hello, Mr. Police Car. Alright, let's make a huge mistake and drive across this railroad bridge. Can we make it? And we did. I'm usually not able to do that. Ow! Okay, I've had enough of that. I'm getting kind of bored. Okay. Now, would I recommend Windows 2000 for gaming, for vintage gaming, that is? For some things, yes. There are a lot of games that either won't install at all or will run, but not properly. Earthworm Jim is one game that does not run well on Windows 2000 or anything NT-based for that matter, although there is a hack for it. I actually did a video about it a couple of years ago, but I don't remember how to do that right now. But I just really prefer using Windows 9X and MS-DOS for vintage gaming because it's just a lot more compatible, and you'll just get a lot more mileage out of it, even though Windows 2000 is reliable in its own. And in fact, you can run DOS on Windows 2000, as you can see right here, except it's in DOSBox, and I'm cheating, and I should be arrested for this. But when you're running this on a CRT, it really does look kind of authentic in a way. So I can demonstrate a little bit of DOS gaming on Windows 2000. No sound. Why is that? Again, this stuff only happens when I'm doing the video. It waits till the camera is rolling to just fall apart. When I first did this video earlier, when it wasn't recording the sound, it was working. DOSBox was working just fine, but now it's not. But take my word for it, it does usually work. I just don't know why it wasn't working in that instance. So let's do a Canyon test so we can show off how good the MIDI sounds on this Turtle Beach card. And again, Canyon is not a part of Windows 2000, but I do have it saved on the main hard drive of my main computer. Okay, here we go. Man, I can see why these sound cards are so desirable. But anyway, I guess it'll about do it for this video. I know I didn't show the Windows ME installed, but this video is getting kind of long, so I'll probably try and do that in a separate video. So yeah, really do like this computer. It served my aunt very well throughout the 2000s, and I can see why. So, until next time, this is Billy Core, signing off. Thank you for visiting the Nostalgia Mall. If you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also support me on Patreon if you would like. The link to all of these are down below. Until next time, this is Billy Core, signing off.